From the Armchair is presented by Raymore and Flanagan. Raymore and Flanagan is a proud partner of the Buffalo Bills, and here to do it, former Bills center Mitch Morse, also host of the Monday Mornings with Mitch podcast, and our MSG viewers may not recognize him as the beard is gone, but the big old handlebar mustache is still in full effect. Sure. It is a new look for Mitch.
Well, I thought I would try to look as much like a walrus as I possibly could.
Oh!
And it turns out that disciplining your children looking like an idiot, they don't take you seriously. No one in this house right now.
So you've unknowingly turned yourself into a cartoon character, and now they don't respect your authority.
Yeah, not a cool one either, like the one that gets picked on or is just kind of like a doofus. Yeah, it sucks.
Well, how old are your children?
Old enough to know that this looks pretty stupid.
Oh, yeah, that's an unfortunate turn of events. It's an unfortunate turn of events.
I'm sure you'll rally. They only listen to Mom anyway, so, might as well embrace it. Let's begin with some of the better moments from last week's loss to the Texans. And I know he had an early turnover, but you look at his line at the end of the game, and you realize you didn't have him. The game's probably not even close.
Without a doubt. Yes, that early turnover was less than ideal. Of course, the defense had a great defensive stand after that, held them to 3 points. But that stat line was pretty tremendous in a game that the Bills had a tough time passing the ball. Yeah, 8 receptions for 113 yards, and most of those receptions were in the biggest moments of the game, especially towards the tail end of the game when they needed it the most. I think about that 3rd and 13 or 3rd and 12. They brought the blitz. They threw it out to Khalil. He made a huge play for like 40-something yards down the sideline. And then, of course, one of the most incredible plays of the game, which we would be talking about ad nauseum if this was a win, was that pitch, that 4th and 27. Right. I thought Khalil is a guy, especially with Kincaid out, that they have to keep leaning on. And I know that fans are not going to want to hear this, but what you do in these pass rushes as well is you do those quick screens. So he's viable to break one off on a quick screen, check down, but even these fun plays, you can just tell that he's gained the respect and trust of Josh. And more than anything, I think that's the most important thing. And besides that turnover, truly this season, he's shown up time and time and time again.
Yeah, and what do you think, as we talk about this Houston game and you watch this 4th and 20, which is, I think it's the longest 4th down conversion I think I've ever seen. Give us an idea about you. You're a former center. Give us an idea about the conversations about the pass rush and and the plan going forward. I mean, obviously, they're going to have something to do with this Steelers game that they don't want a repeat of what happened in Houston.
True, right? And let's a spade. You got a killer out there. You have 2 really with Highsmith and T.J. Watt. I think this was a great learning experience this past week. There's so many variables that go into pass protection, right? Like, by far, the offensive line is the most important cog in that piece. And I assume if you asked all 5 of those guys, they wish they could have that game back or a handful of those plays back, 100%. But we don't know what communication's going down, what the protection was, any of that. That being said, you got to lean on the screen game, which isn't the sexiest thing, but it keeps the defense honest, especially when you have a defense like the Texans, which just have werewolves out there. And then you have to, I think just communication is the biggest thing. And listen, effort's not going to be a problem after seeing this, right? Like, guys they're prideful. They're full of pride, immense pride. Like, this is a prideful group. Knowing these guys, no one wants to see that, right? Like, no one was sleeping well that night. So they're going to double down on everything they need to do, be professionals, and have a little stuff to them. It wasn't what they wanted to see. Of course, it was the stat line that hit you right in the forehead when you opened up the stat line. But it's the NFL. Time marches on. And the most important thing to do is not have a repeat performance, not be repeat offenders, especially against a defense that still can rush the passer pretty darn well in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Second line of Buffalo's defense has dealt with injuries pretty much from the start. And you're looking for guys to get back, looking for guys to give you a performance. Bernard goes down in this game. Shaq Thompson just gets back from injury and fortunately can take over the mic role in his absence. But you liked what you saw from Matt Milano in this game.
I did. Yes. Defense, we've talked about before spark plugs and energy givers in this defense, whether it's Cole Bishop playing pretty well or Maxwell Harrison coming in playing well. I know he's out in concussion protocol right now, but a guy that could really give some juice to this is a guy like the way that Matt Milano played this past week, turning the timetables, whatever you want to call it, back. He was playing instinctual, man. Like the stat lines weren't crazy, but he was making his presence known, whether it was tackles for losses, working in space, and more often than not, I saw him plugging holes, and especially in that second half when our defense was playing pretty run stout defense. It was just fun to see. And then you talk about Shaq Thompson, a guy that still is one of the most incredible speedsters from sideline to sideline, very instinctual. I'll be interested to see those two guys out. Of course, Terrell's the heartbeat of this defense. He's the captain of the team, but like I said before, this is the NFL, man. Time marches on. That being said, if you can turn back the tables of time and get a little Matt Milano juice like we saw, the whole team was super juiced to see him do his thing. So I hope we get a little more of Matt playing free, playing instinctual, lowering his shoulder, not playing timid. And that's what we saw this past week, and it was fun to watch.
So a little bit, they did stiffen up in the second half, only allowed 3 points. They were on pace to give up 40, and then they only allowed 3 in the entire second half. Really was a night and day difference. Guys, give us an idea of a guy like Larry Ogunjobi, who seems to be one of those guys who's made his reputation as a run defender and kind of showed up in the second half of that Houston game.
Him and everyone else showed up in that second half, which is part of the gig, right? Of course, you want to play 4 quarters of tremendous football. But when I saw his tackle for loss, and then he had another one where it was a quick swim, and he was just shedding blockers, more than anything, it just showed me the attitude that this team and this defensive line brought out in the second half, which was, I'm tired of playing on my toes. I'm tired of playing timid. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to execute. But first things first, I'm going to make my physicality known. And it's something Larry's done since he stepped into the league. It's something I told you guys when he first signed with the team. I hated playing against the guy because your neck was sore because of he was going to smack you in the mouth, man. And when you see that from this defense, you see these guys playing with unabashedful energy, right? That's infectious, and it keeps going. And that's what this team needs. It needs that energy. It needs that juice that they played with in that second half on defense. And I thought Larry set the tone on that, and everyone else followed suit. It was really fun to see, and we hope, I hope rather, that we see a bunch of it more often because that energy is infectious, dude.
Mitch, I know you were here when you guys were last in Pittsburgh, and you had to deal with that whole Renegade song, and I remember Coach was playing it the entire practice week to the point where you guys got to the fourth quarter and you kind of made it your own. I still remember Barkley swinging his jacket around the sideline to the Renegade song. It's like you made it your own. What is Coach's mental head game that he's working there to make you guys feel more comfortable in a hostile environment like that when the crowd gets amped?
I mean, just being there and saying it for a few times, when that Renegade song does come on, it is pretty funky. It's pretty cool, man. Like, you can feel it. The energy it's a rambunctious energy, and it's hard not to. Steve, you can attest to this. If you're an opposing player and it's a big game and they put something on that gets the crowd going and you're in the moment, it's liable just as well to fire up the opposing sideline as it is for the home team. So, yeah, you want to get the novelty out of it. You also want to set the expectation of what's to come. But I also think more than anything, it just sets the tone of who you are playing. You're playing one of the staples in the NFL. When you talk about the NFL, you talk about a few teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers are one of them. They're going to play a certain type of offense and certain type of defense in that AFC North, and that's physical football. So more than anything, it just kind of reminds you of the type of game you're going to come into. Of course, that part of the game in the fourth quarter is going to be electric if they decide to go. That's the play, is that you want to beat them so bad that they don't give the crowd that satisfaction. But yeah, I think you just want to lose the novelty and also hammer the point home of who you are truly playing.
Last one from me, Mitch. I've been making this point. You can. I'd be interested to hear your take on it, whether it's true or whether you agree or not. One of the reasons the Bills have been so up and down at home versus on the road this year, they've really struggled on the road and been better at home. Certainly, they were undefeated last year in their home environment. One of the reasons for this, I think, is the fact that the engine of the team, obviously with Josh and the defending MVP, the engine of the team is the offense. And it's much more difficult to play offense on the road, particularly when your pre-snap communication, pre-snap shifts, pre-snap checks are so prevalent, such a prevalent part of your offense. It's much more difficult to make that go. And therefore, when the engine of your team is really at a disadvantage on the road, it's much harder to play well on the road than it would be if the Bills' defense was the engine. You know, they were a stifling, run-stuffing, pass-rushing team that, you know, held opponents down on the scoreboard. That'd be a much better road team than the way the Bills are currently constructed.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Steve. I would say the offense to date, especially this year, has been the catalyst for this team and how the ship rolls, right? I really do like the way that defense stiffened up and kind of took a personality of their own and took on that. When they took the field, it was us versus the world. And, of course, you want to do that as a team. And, yes, when you play away as an offense, you know this, especially places that are rambunctious, that I thought Energy Stadium was a pretty rambunctious place to play football last Thursday. They're going to make it difficult as possible. You have to rely on your nonverbal communications. It's tough to make those special adjustments. And then you also add to the fact that people have a little more juice in the stands because the Buffalo Bills have played pretty good football these last few years, and they have the reigning NFL MVP. And what do they want to see? They want to see those guys fumble. So, yeah, I think it really bodes for the defense. You got to put the ball in the defense's court. It's not totally fair, but it's the truth. But if you get that, if we get that little magical special sauce, kind of like what this mustache has got going on right here,
right.
for the defense when you play away, that sparks the energy, man. Talking about it, beat it to death. Coach speech. I don't give two damns. That's the truth, dude.
Yeah.
Mitch, thanks for the time as always. Good luck with the mustache wax. We look forward to different iterations of this carpet for your mouth next week.
Yeah, you guys are great, man. I appreciate the love. I'll talk to you later.